This is David Crockett. This ship was built in Mystic Seaport. It was a real old shipbuilding center. And this is David Crockett. He's painting in colors, but again, it gives me this information here on the stem. The figure is here. I can proportion it out relative to a seaman up here on the bow of the ship. So this is how I go about using research. I use museums extensively. I support the museums. And if you get the opportunity, whenever you're on vacation, I highly recommend going to museums. It's fun, you learn so much, and who knows, it may inspire you to make a miniature. Here we have various woods, boxwood, applewood, hawthorn, various types of woods are used, and I cut them down, make them very small. This is a base made out of applewood, like you would find for all these figureheads. A lot of the applewood that I use came from Oak Creek Canyon up north of Sedona, because I was living in Cottonwood, and I got to know the guy who took care of the orchards. There actually is someone who harvests the apples in Oak Creek Canyon. You can buy apples up in Oak Creek Canyon. And some of them came from a little bit west of Denver. But most of this wood is native Arizona applewood. So those are my materials. There are many other materials. My favorite is wood because it affects me here. I love wood, I understand it, and I can work with it. And you have to find different types of wood are good for different purposes. This yellowish wood is wonderful for carving because it will hold detail, as you'll see here with the figures. It also makes a nice contrast with the base and the stem of the ship being in dark apple, and then the light yellow colored wood for the carving. Here we have some more. This actually includes both materials and fabrication. This is what I'm constructing here, and here it shows you 1 inch for scale. All of these figureheads are at the same scale. They're all at 1/48 life size, or 1/4 inch to the foot. Okay. Now this is 1/4 of dollhouse scale, which is 1 inch to the foot. So if you want to picture what these would look like in dollhouse scale, just multiply them by 4. So they'd be quite a bit larger. And that was one of the problems I had making this collection, that I had to select a scale. If it's too small, it's really hard to make the detail. If it's too large, then it becomes bulky. Tools I divide into 2 categories, power tools and hand tools. Now, there's a big controversy about using power carving. You talk about power carving. Well, define power carving. So you could define power carving as something with a motive force to make a bit go around, or a saw like this. And the way I look at it, it's the motive force doesn't matter, because Bernini, the old sculptor in the early 1600s, had a lot of drill work where he drilled holes in the hair of his figures. He didn't use an electric motor, but he did use a power tool, probably with a spindle drill, where you have a bow that runs back and forth, and it would cut both ways. That is about it. The whole thing is, the idea is to have a panoply of all these figureheads. There are 60 in this collection. There are hundreds more I could do, and hopefully I'll be doing a lot more of them. There's another collection of all the ship figureheads of the US Navy. You see, when I first started out, I thought, well, there are all these ship figureheads, Swedish, French, American. But I had to focus it on subject matter, and I had to get some sort of control, otherwise it would just spiral out of control with thousands of potential figureheads. So I focused on, these are the figureheads of our merchant navy and clipper ships, which are all in the United States. And then I have another collection I made of the US Navy, and that's 52 pieces. And if I live long enough, there are other figurehead collections, like the French or the Swedish. They're all wonderful, and I have enough for a whole nother career to do. So how is it on time?